Everybody. We're just going to wait just another minute while everyone gets logged in here. All right, I think I see everyone connected. So I'll open it up to all of you first. Is there anything that anyone wants to bring to this group today? Welcome to October, by the way. I see some Halloween stuff. I see some orange. People are in the mood. I like it. You guys are all quiet today. Do I need to send you guys some coffee? Yeah. Oh, Steve's got one. Great.
We are actually hosting right now. They're still in progress with we just passed a virtual voting law in North Carolina. So CAI, the North Carolina chapter, we're hosting 5 of the voting software participants. They're all the CAI members. So we're doing that as like a mini trade show for all of our management companies to meet with each one of them, understand what they can do for them, that type of thing. So that's still underway right now.
That's great. That's great that you guys were able to put that together so quickly.
Yeah, the law just passed 3 weeks and 3 days ago. We did an education event last Wednesday on it, and we're hosting these 5 event service providers today. So
great. Do other states have that law in place that you guys your boards can do virtual voting and meetings? Have you guys seen? I know a few during the executive orders, those were put in place. Are you seeing that those are becoming more into law and longer term versus just the executive orders? I'm seeing a lot of head nods.
Yeah, our LAC actually jumped on it in, I don't know, February last year. And it passed, I think it was the House, it passed in like 3 days, unanimous, no question whatsoever. It went over to the Senate, sat there until 3 weeks ago, and they didn't change the language, they just argued over who was getting credit for it. So.
All right, anybody else? Anyone else want to talk about anything? All right, while you guys are thinking, so one thing that I wanted to see is if any chapters are doing any real estate education style courses, partnering with them. I see Chris, your hands up. I know Minnesota, I think Josh is on here. You guys did one this spring, I believe. And so we just wanted to see what kind of courses maybe you guys are holding with the partnership of real estate, and if you guys are getting real estate credit so that they're also getting the continuing education.
Ours, we actually were trying to get it together originally before the June. June is when North Carolina real estate licenses renew each year, and everybody crams in that last month to get their CEs in before the end of the year. We fostered the idea in like February or March and had to go through getting it approved with the Real Estate Commission, all that kind of stuff. So we didn't quite get it done by then. We took a pause for this and we're refocused on it. Should be in place, I think, early part of next year. It is for CEUs. It is, it's all those things that realtors want to know or should know about HOAs. I don't have the specific criteria in front of us, but our external partnership strategic team focused on that one and got it put together. So we're doing it in conjunction with, there are retired PCAM in our area and 2 of the HOA attorneys that are both CAI members in North Carolina. So that's who's hosting ours initially, and we'll change it up from time to time.
Great, thank you, Chris. Sarah, I think I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not on video today. Yeah, the Wisconsin chapter, we had formed a committee and conducted a couple focus groups with some of our larger realtors in the area. Because we're kind of going down the same path. Like, we feel that we need to, some education probably needs to happen. And they've all admitted, a couple realtors have admitted that they just don't understand or know everything that maybe should be known. So, to work together more as a team, we're trying to create some things with them, and a couple people on the committee have, I believe, reached out to National to see what we need to do or what we can offer to start that getting going. So I believe in our meeting in November, we're going to try to, at least schedule something to try to get a class going, or see where we can go with it. But we have been working with a couple other chapters as well, to see because actually we didn't really know how much this was out there, but it's been out there for a while and everybody's talking about it. So I think it'd be a really good thing.
So yeah, we did a Minnesota chapter. We did a session, joint session with the Minnesota Realtors Association. I think it was maybe this past April or May, if I recall. But kind of an interesting story of how ours came to be. Our attorney for a LAC committee, working as a lobbyist, was getting word from the Minnesota Realtors Association that they were talking to legislators about the issue of, looking into resale disclosure fees, right? And our management companies charging accordingly and their opinions. So obviously that's a touchy issue. So the idea was, let's reach out to them just to say, hey, let's partner together with CAI and your Minnesota Realtors Association and do a continuing education class on resale disclosures. And it was really well received by the Minnesota Realtors Association. And we ended up doing two different speakers, someone representing the management company side, just explaining the liability that goes into filling out those resale disclosures, the mechanics and all that's involved with producing those, just to enlighten that constituency of, why fees are what they are. And then the realtor side allocated a speaker to talk about, I think it was the markets. I'm not sure. We said, you take your piece, whatever you want. This is a joint effort. And it was really well received. The idea was great. But then as the event happened, like, their speaker fizzled out. They didn't really have any content. And I think we had about 120 people that attended this virtual session, and like 80 of the 120 were CAI people. So like the realtor constituency didn't exactly pan out. But having said that, it was a really, even the managers, I think, enjoyed hearing what their companies are responsible for, because they probably didn't even know about the resale disclosures requirements. So it ended up being a really good session and a really good idea, but that was kind of how ours played out.
For the chapters who aren't doing any of these types of programs, are you hearing from your members or getting any requests or even talking about it strategically to hold any of these types of sessions? I know a couple of chapters that I've spoken with have brought this up, and they're trying to figure out a place to start. And just knowing that we've heard it, we thought we'd bring this to the group to see what you guys are hearing.
Hey Kelly, our LAC, our Florida LAC has been really talking about it, about the benefit of having realtors be educated in things like reserve studies and turnover and things like that. So we definitely have been having the conversations.
Great, thanks, Emily.
So Kelly, it's Melanie in Colorado. Hi. I apologize. My computer was giving me trouble, so I had to join on my phone. Are you talking about realtors? I kind of missed it, but.
Yeah, if you're doing any programs with education or partnering with another realtor group, just to get them informed about, stuff within community associations, forms or anything like that with buying and selling, just to get them more up to speed with how to buy and sell homes within community associations.
We are in Colorado, and again, my computer's giving me trouble, so I definitely, just give me a second and I can pull it up. So we partnered, one of our board members, he's no longer on the board. He termed out last year, but he's an attorney in the industry, and he works he has worked in the past very closely with a Realtors Association here in Colorado. So we are in the process of developing a course with them to put on for realtors. And so I can get some more information over to National about what we're doing, and it's being developed. It's not quite in the final stages yet, but we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, anything you can share, that would be great. And again, anyone who's holding programs or have done anything, if you have anything that would be useful to share, again, any of that would be helpful. So any of the chapters or committees who are going through this, they can go and get that information. We can put that in the leader toolkit that you guys all have access to online. So if you do get those discussions. Pilar?
So we are doing our first panel in November, where we're bringing in a developer, and we're going to do a developer turnover discussion with an attorney, myself for insurance, and then the actual developer works for Lennar, and or I should say is Lennar. So we haven't solicited that out into the realtor community, so to speak. But that's not a bad idea. So I recently went to a luncheon with one of our representatives, based on my LAC participation, and so maybe that's a good idea. Had not kind of driven down that path yet with our chapter.
Great, thank you, Pilar.
Thank you.
I'm just remembering now the content for our presentation in Minnesota. We had actually two speakers. We brought in a management company owner to talk about the logistics of the resale disclosure process and what management companies do. And then the meat of the presentation was we brought in an attorney to talk about the liability that goes with and what the state statute requirements are for resale disclosures in Minnesota. And those two speakers and topics were, I think, a really well-rounded presentation to both audiences of realtors and HOA people.
Great, thank you. All right, anything else about that topic? If you guys are discussing that at the chapter level, again, please let us know or check the toolkit. We'll start to put some stuff up there for that as well. Or if you guys are hearing anything within the communities. Steve, I see you took yourself off mute.
Yeah, I just had a question because down here it's very different between the association world and the real estate market. It's kind of like this. They don't like us very much because we make things challenging for them. So I'm wondering if anybody had that issue and how they overcame that process to bring this type of education seminars together with the real estate side, if you will.
Well, we have that issue. We just have not done anything as far as coming together yet. But I feel you on that.
Yeah, and then it's funny because then you have the group, they all used to be real estate people, and then when the market dropped, they all became CAM managers.
Right.
But I'm assuming a lot of that relationship that are in other states is because you don't have state licensing requirements, and it's not that there's no CAM license like there is in Florida, and that's why you guys have that nice cohesive symbiotic relationship, which seems to be nice in those other markets. But down here, it's just downright nasty.
I think what's worked for a couple of chapters has been there's been a member who's almost connected to the real estate association. And so because there's that connection with somebody, they were able to bring it in. I know with Minnesota, that was the case there, especially. So again, that might be something, is to find that connection with somebody. But Steve, going to that point, if you did hold a program, is there anything that you'd be looking for or information that you would need to hold that type of program with them?
I mean, look, I took some notes, and I think a lot of these topics, as far as, the resale disclosure process, the buying and selling, discussion between community associations are fantastic topics of conversation. And it's different, right? It's different than the typical stuff we've been doing. which I like different. You know, I want to introduce a whole different leg, if you will, what we do on the education and event side. So it's a matter of breaking that ice with somebody on the real estate side and getting them involved and showing them the advantages of our organization and how it can help with them. But they're only looking at dollars because they, you know, down here you have $28 million penthouses they want to sell, and then what do we need you for, type of deal. So
right.
yeah, you're right. Having someone in the real estate side will probably help, but I have to think about that and see who is.
So I just kind of, Melanie here again. So I got my email up and running here, and just to give a little bit more exactly what you're saying, pairing with somebody that you know, and that's what Wes in our chapter had paired with. It was a educational nonprofit called Educated Minds, and they're a real estate educational nonprofit. And so so we were pairing with them to put on education. So I think finding maybe who puts on education, maybe not so much at the state level, but if there's any other nonprofits, they may be willing, you know, to open their doors a little bit more to the idea.
Great. Melanie, what was the name of that organization?
It's called Educated Minds.
Perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh. And so the idea was that they were, and I'm not in the middle of sort of the development of it, but just sitting on the board when we came up with this idea, I think 3 years ago, that this needed to happen. But we were really trying to pull together the realtor world and then also get in with title agencies to do a dual class, because I think title companies, they have a broad spectrum. And if we can get sort of everybody with a little more information, right, a little more education on kind of what you're talking about, on understanding what the process is from a management company perspective, and the work that goes behind all of it, and even just a teeny bit of education, I think will go a long way with both realtors and title companies.
Thank you, Melanie. All right. Anything else for this topic?
So I have a question. Do you all have a lot of members in your chapters that are involved, that are with title companies? We don't have any. No. Okay.
Yeah, well, there's a few. I mean, a few probably on a handful I can count. There's like those condo attorneys that also do title work on the side, but
yeah, right. Okay.
All right. I know that a lot of chapters had moved events into the fall timeframe, just again with everything that's going on. And so I just want to give you guys some space to provide some feedback. How are things going? What are you seeing? Are you facing any new challenges, you know, with some of these larger events that you're having?
For us, they're doing great. I mean, we're having fantastic time at our events. We did an educated business partner luncheon last week, which was sold out with 25 people. And I can't tell you the positive feedback on that, these business partners coming in, taking that class and opening their eyes to more what CAI is all about, more on a global scale than just locally. But learning what these managers go through and the processes they have to go through, they found it very, very educated. So we're going to continue to schedule those classes for those educated business partners to get that distinction. But all of our events have been sold out. We just had a nice mixer last night. We have a Halloween party planned on the 27th, and they are getting packed and sold out. So it's been great for us.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Jackie, I think you
Yeah, we just had our CA day last Saturday, and we had about 95 exhibitors and about 200 exhibitor attendees, and then about 200 actual attendees come. And we had to have our proof of vaccination or negative test before they came. Most people did not have a problem with that. We got a great turnout. The classes were good and we had great feedback. It was the first trade show we've done in person in almost 2 years. So, I mean, we've had some outdoor events for the summer, like kickball and the golf tournament, but this was our first indoor trade show and it was very successful. People were really glad to see each other in person and got a lot of good feedback.
Great. Thank you, Jackie. Lexi, I think you were next.
Yes, let me lower my hand. We had a luncheon, our first luncheon back together in Los Angeles in the month of October. Month of October, yes, I think. Or September, sorry. What month are we in? I don't know. So in late September, and we had 120 attendees. We did our event outdoors out on a patio at the venue that we typically hold our luncheons inside. Same as in Washington State, we required, or the venue actually required, proof of COVID vaccine or negative COVID test within 72 hours. They also required that attendees pre-register, and we had to provide data for all attendees, I think 4 days in advance. Traditionally, people in our chapter like to sign up at the last minute or show up the day of and try to get in. So that caused a little bit of an administrative issue for our CED, where people were not reading emails that they couldn't just show up or try to schedule last minute, but people were directed to sign up in advance for our November luncheon that'll be coming up. Just a couple takeaways for us because it was outside. We're obviously dealing with weather. We don't really have weather in LA, but it ended up being over 90 degrees and people were dying of heat and we didn't have enough umbrellas and it was windy. So we had a lot of exhibitors who had things blowing off their tables and signs blowing over. It was really exciting. So just a couple things to think about and possibly let your exhibitors know if you're looking to do outdoor stuff and just things to be mindful of. But overall, people were so happy to be together that we rolled with the punches.
Great, thank you. All right, I know Kelly had her hand raised, but it looks like she stepped away. Anybody else want to make a comment? Josh?
Yeah, we had our annual law seminar last week. We always do a 4-hour law seminar in October, so that was kind of always the plan. But what we did this year, because we didn't, in February is when we do our annual trade show, expo, and we didn't do the in-person one this year. We did a virtual one in May, which was actually really well done, but there was still that feedback from vendors, like we want to see managers in person. So we decided to incorporate like a mini expo trade show into our law seminar, since it was already a full day thing. And it went over really well. I think we ended up having 45 exhibitors. Like at the trade show, we would normally have about 90. We had 45, so about half. And we ended up having, I think it was 75 or 80 manager registered participants for the law seminar, which is about or maybe 10 to 15% less than normal, but ended up being a great turnout. And it ended up just being a really nice day, a good way to incorporate 2 events to kind of make up for one. But I think one of our lessons from it was, I know we're all going to experience in 2022, it's the venues, pricing, availability of spaces, food costs, right? All of those things are just starting to get a little difficult to predict and budget for.
Are others seeing that too, increase in venue pricing? Have you guys been starting to talk about your budgets for 2022 and how, it might be, that increase? And is that for the chapter to take on? Are you going to be increasing prices? Are you going to be increasing sponsorship levels?
Well, yeah, we just talked about that last week. We're going to hold a meeting to talk about our chapter sponsorships. We talked about increasing those, not a lot, just by about 500 to 250 to 500 on the average. We don't want to hit them with a big increase. But like the golf venue, I booked 8 months in advance and their price is almost double per head. So we're calling other clubs now just to get some comparables, but we're seeing that across everywhere as well, this price increase. So right now we're just talking about the chapter sponsors boosting those costs up a little bit.
Go ahead, Pilar.
So we held our Expo, our CA Day, in the beginning of September. We had 60 exhibitors and we had 12 hours of CEU available, and we probably had 250 attendees. We did do a mask mandate, and we didn't really have too much of an issue with that. But overall, a very successful event. And even though we didn't have the foot traffic we would love to have, we attributed some of that to being budget season for the CAMs. And then also, we just had some people that just weren't going to attend because they didn't want to comply with the mask mandate. But that was also when we were really in a high point of COVID. I feel like if we had that event, this month, I think we would have had a lot more foot traffic through the event. And then on pricing, yeah, our costs for breakfast and lunches almost doubled. So we haven't exactly decided what we're going to do about that yet. We're still doing a good mix of virtual, throwing in some face-to-face events. We're planning our gala for December right now, so we'll see what kind of responses we start to get. We're getting huge responses still to our virtual events, like almost immediately. So when we advertise them, so we're still trying to do a mix to accommodate everybody.
And then Pilar, just strategically, do you think that you'll continue to keep virtual on the books then moving forward, or is this just during kind of the COVID-19 world?
I think that I really do think people love the virtual option. Honestly, I think we've all gotten super spoiled to it, and it's easy to hop on for 30 or 45 minutes. We are actually planning some social things as well in December, like a trivia that we'll do virtually we just want to keep people engaged, right? And so we're trying to give everybody options. We did get a very negative email about our trade show. Somebody wrote back and said, "How in the world can you do this with a good conscience?" Whatever. But that was one person. But so there's still some people out there that do not want to do face-to-face. So we're just trying to accommodate.
Pilar, how often is your chapter holding virtual educational events?
So prior to our expo, we stopped because we wanted people to go to the expo in person. It is not a CEU year here in Florida, but we're doing a lot of non-CEU for our virtual. So most of our virtuals are not, although our event next month is, because we had a presenter for the expo that had to cancel because their presenters all had COVID. It went through their office. So they're doing that next month, and they're doing it virtually. So I would say maybe once a quarter. We'll definitely have more next year because it's a CEU year for our CAMs.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, that was our challenge. We saw that holding too many virtual education seminars, we started to see a drop off of attendance. So we started to go from 2 a month to 1 a month, and then alternating months. And now we're starting to see attendance get back up where we expect it to be.
Well, I will tell you, the attorneys in our state, they hold CEU courses. I mean, you probably could, if you're on either the property managers or all of the law firms' email addresses, you could do 2 or 3 times a week. It's crazy. So we are really competing with our own members, honestly.
As for Washington, we also have a mix. We have managers only meetings, which was not convenient because people are coming from far away. So our numbers were kind of dwindling pre-COVID. But now that managers can go and get education for a quick hour online, we've been doing that monthly and had great attendance virtually. But for our trade shows and like our gala that we've got going next month, we're trying to move that into in-person stuff. But these small education classes, we've got great attendance because people don't have to drive so far. Because we have a full Washington state area, and so people from Eastern Washington and like an hour, 2 hours north or south can actually come for an education. But the vendors definitely want to have in person for the trade shows.
Kelly, before you had stepped away, it looked like you wanted to mention something about your events, and I see you're back now. So if you'd like to go ahead, feel free.
I'm sorry, I had an emergency. It was, we're having our golf tournament tomorrow. And so I have all these people coming from our company picking up different things. So I apologize. Speaking of golf, I mean, that is something that we sold out almost, well, I'd say in a couple of days. I mean, it went that fast. And we have 2 courses. All of our foursomes are sold out. We're having a very, very good response to in-person. We do take, precautions and have hand sanitizer around, ask people to social distance. We've moved the dinner portion outside versus inside. And same thing with our education seminar class that we do for managers. We decided to limit it this year. And we limited to, I think, 130 managers. It was sold out with a wait list. So we also did the same thing with the number of sponsors. But I think that, I know here in Georgia, people are just tired of being in. So we're having success both ways. We do offer virtual, where it's classes, virtual. We've tried to do some virtual happy hours and fun things where we can network. That's all it goes over really well, but I feel like here we're getting a little zoomed out. So people are starting to move forward and do events. If they do not want to show up face to face, then we have options for them.
One of the things that we're having to navigate with hybrid education events, I think we've learned to some of the comments earlier that I think people have come to enjoy the convenience. I can get my credit hours in 45 minutes to an hour instead of 2 to 3 hours when you add drive time or whatever else. So I think we've learned that hybrid for education events is probably the way to go in the future. But one of the things that we've learned over the last 2 months, we're seeing a pattern of when people, so we ask people to register for doing it in person or online, just so that we can then have a head count, mostly for the hotel, and know what we need for food and seating and whatever else. And for 2 education events in a row, the issue that we saw was the week of, our executive director got anywhere from 10 to 15 different, I'm switching to hybrid, which is fine, I guess, but obviously it creates a problem of adjusting food count and how do you budget. So that's one of the things that we're trying to kind of navigate. When you allow the convenience of the hybrid, how do you more appropriately plan for those who are going to be in person?
Do you charge the same for hybrid versus in-person attendees?
We don't. What we do is we charge a higher fee for being in person, obviously. And the fee for going online is a bit cheaper, but instead you get like a Grubhub gift card kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So what we decided to do last month is those people that canceled or switched rather from in-person to online, we didn't give them a refund, nor did we give them a Grubhub card. It was one of those, okay, you still get the credits, but you're still being charged the same amount and you're not going to get a Grubhub thing.
I have a question too. Does anyone else do a no-show fee for any type of the events that you do? We have started doing that just because we would have people just not show, not call, no excuse. And the amount of money we were spending on food was incredible. So we started charging a no-show fee and we bill them. And
We just,
I have to tell you, it's gotten a lot better. But with ours, we have to have 3 hours. We can't do a 1 hour class. So that 3 hours is with the managers needing it. That, believe it or not, it's actually helped a lot with our classes.
Kelly, we just don't refund
Charge.
the money.
You what?
We don't refund them. So they pay when they register for the event and they just don't
Well,
get
and yet you guys probably set up with our lunches, managers are free.
right.
Yeah, so they get the free lunch. So if they don't show, you
Right.
know, that's we end up charging them the $25 there. So
That's how much you charge for, the no-show fee is $25.
you would not believe how much that has helped.
Oh, okay. I do.
Yeah, I'd much rather them at least send another manager in their place. That's why we're here, and to be able to network with the clients. So do that, or
So Kelly,
Yeah.
you guys don't charge for registering and attending for managers?
no.
So that's, yeah, I mean, we did that with our homeowner essential class. That was a lesson that we learned. If it's free, there's no incentive to, you know,
Right.
to commit to the, yeah.
Right. So then that's what, once we started charging the no-show fee, people, they started showing, or at least sent someone in their place that, a manager in their place. And our numbers have never been better.
I have a question about the hybrid events. When you have it in person, are you having somebody just record live at the same time?
We had to do a live stream for our executive retreat, and those that attended online, we were only live streaming the educational portion of the day. So we had to have an AV, like a tech company, come, and they were actually filming and streaming live via Zoom. But it was a little bit more complicated than just having someone's laptop set up on a podium. We had a professional videographer do that for us.
We found that's really expensive.
Yeah, it was, I think, probably $2,000 for the day, which I think is inexpensive because they were there for 12 full hours between setup and breakdown.
Thanks. Is that how other people are doing it too?
Someone had mentioned on another call, there's something called the OWL, and it's a speaker, microphone, and camera all in one. It's about $1,000, but I believe 1 or 2 chapters have recently purchased it with the thought of hybrid. Emily just posted it into the chat if anyone wants to take a look at that, but it's kind of an all-in-one piece of equipment. And again, it's more towards those hybrid style meetings.
Yeah, I just posted it in there, but it has like a 360-degree camera, mic, and speaker. And so if there's someone speaking in the room, it'll, go to them. And several of our chapters are getting it. It looks really cool. So you may want to consider budgeting for something like that.
Now we really got to raise the prices next year.
$1,000 isn't too bad.
All right. I think Chris, he had his hand raised. Chris, are you still there?
Async. Cool.
You're on mute, Chris, if you wanted to mention anything.
I hit my video, not my mute. Okay, sorry. I was stopping to grab lunch. We've done a lot of virtual education, and then we're getting back to our in-person because somebody said earlier, a lot of the vendors are really craving that. They're not getting the benefit or feeling the love on the virtual trade show rooms and the just hosting the events. They're not getting that portion of it. So, but we have not gone hybrid yet. I'm gonna check out that link that whoever it was just posted. Thank you for that. So we're interested in doing that, but we've talked about that. There was the discussion about the no-show fees. We do charge for everything because, again, as a gentleman mentioned a minute ago, that's the incentive to show up, because you'll get a lot of people that just sign up day one because they're excited about it. And then, like you said, or somebody said, week of, you start getting the cancellations because people can't make it because there are other priorities. So we just don't do the refund either. Same thing as the other gentleman spoke about. So so we're getting back to a combination of, but not hybrid yet. So that's interesting.
Great. Thanks, Chris. All right. So while you guys are thinking if there's any last items, I just wanted to let you guys all know that the recertification system is open for this year. So just to let you know, you can be added. Most of the time it's your CEDs or your chapter staff who are putting the information into the system. But you will need to be able to sign off on one of the sheets for it. But you guys all can get access to that as well if you want to see what that system is. But we did open it early this year so people can start putting in items that they already have for that. Again, that won't be due until the end of January. Is that correct, Emily? The end of January of 2022 for this year. But again, we opened it up so it's not just a last minute thing that your CEDs or your chapter staff get put with.
What is that? What is it that you're talking about? Recertification for what?
For the chapter. So we have requirements that every year the chapter has to submit certain documents for us to make sure that things are happening. So for example, we require minutes from your board meetings so that we make sure board meetings are actually taking place. We can see that that you know, you had them and that the minutes are there. Again, financials to make sure that you as the boards are receiving them for that. So there's just a couple different things that we have. And so we have an actual online system that we upload all the files to, and then that gets submitted every year. And all right. All right, last call for anything. I'm seeing no.
I have a simple housekeeping question.
Yes.
And maybe you can answer, I don't know. As I said, we had our educated business partner luncheon the other day, and I know the fee for the educated business partner is $49, which goes to national. Are we able to increase that fee?
You can charge whatever you'd like for it. And then again, just cover the basic costs. So you can charge, same thing with like the board member workshop. Again, you can charge whatever you would like for that. There's the basic fee, but you can go up or down, whatever the chapter feels like.
Okay. No, because we have it at Morton Steakhouse, which is a nice lunch, and it costs us $50 a head. So if I charge $100 for it.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So yes, you can definitely charge to cover costs and things like that as well.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you guys for such a great discussion today. And we'll see you guys next month, hopefully. Happy Halloween for those who celebrate. And otherwise, have a great October, guys.